Hello, welcome back to another exciting episode of Summoner's War. I am Tree, the one tree and the only tree. 1, 2, tree. Today we're gonna play with the new Wind Yum Num. I don't know what she is. What is she again? Onmyouji. One of the newest monsters in Summoner's War. Her name is Great effing monster, as you can see. However, you know, Conquest decided to last minute nerf this new suppression debuff, and so instead they changed her name and gave us an IOU. So for now we're just gonna call her G. G actually looks pretty awesome with this little flying fox spirit, and she also attacks with this large frog. It's actually pretty cool. However, this is the worst Nat5 in the game. Hands down, there's no contest. You can say Ariel, you can say Christina, they still actually do what is intended. Christina can still be a damage dealer, Ariel can still heal. This thing does nothing. She has a first skill strip, up to 75% chance. And then her second skill will apply the new suppression thing, which we'll take a look at. And then she gets more turns. And that's basically it. The key things to note is she gets more turns based on the enemy using skills with a cooldown. So the more times they use a skill 2 or skill 3, then the more times she gains attack bar. And then if you apply karma and the karma triggers, so take a look at that in a second, then the karma, the second skill, will get a free cooldown and you can use it again. And now this passive is already in the game, something really similar to that. It's another monster which I actually have 2 of. His name is Onmyouji, this guy. So he gains attack bar by 25% every time the enemy moves, not just skill 2 or 3, but this is every single time the enemy moves, even if they're, you know, asleep, stunned, or whatever. Every time they move, I gain attack bar. However, this guy's bad. He's terrible. I mean, some people still use him. Some people like say this guy's awesome, but he has nothing either. I mean, he has attack bar decrease, and he has AoE attack bar decrease, and it's not much. It's 30% and 30%. And that's all he does. He gains turns and does that. You almost have to have him on Despair. And he only gains 25% attack bar. The only place he's really good at counter to is Tiana's. And we all know Tiana has that perfect AI, I wish I had one, where she gains 30% attack bar for her whole team, and then it clears the field, and then can't be resisted. And so when you build your Onmyouji on Despair, this thing will probably be on Swift or Violent, and then you need to somehow cut in between them. So your Onmyouji needs to move faster than the 30% of the next monster. So you have basically a minus 5% window to outspeed the next monster after Tiana. Otherwise, Onmyouji is completely useless. Just attack bar and hopefully you get Despair stun. It's like Juno without the strip and without the cleanse. So yeah, basically useless. Alright, so increasing the accuracy, gains this stuff. There's really nothing I can do, even if I did, you know, it's not really good runes. I didn't even upgrade all the way. Just speed, HP, SP, will, violent, standard for a support. I didn't even put artifacts on it. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, you're just there to use the suppression debuff. We'll actually show you how bad it is. So let's get to testing. So we're going to show you what suppression or what karma does. Remember, Karma's a skill, Suppression is the thing. This is the frog attack. Frog attack is pretty cool. And you resisted. Okay, so we need to try it again. I think there's like 60 something accuracy too, so that's pretty dumb. So already, you know, just like bombs, just like everything else, it has a resistance effect, which is not looking good for this thing. So now I have to wait. Hopefully they keep doing the second turn so I get more attack bar. So can she strip? No. First skill is pretty useless. Pretty useless. So already, like, I mean, these are the biggest comparisons, Sierra and G, because Sierra, she gets more turns than this thing does, because Sierra's first skill gives her 45% attack bar if you crit all of them, and then the second skill you get a free turn anyway. So this one, not having either, it's just really, hopefully they use the second turn, or hopefully they use the skill with the cooldown. Well, actually she start gaining more turns. But Sierra, speed lead, free turn on the second skill, and a ton of attack bar on the first skill is pretty much better at more turn cycling than this thing. So try it again. Frog attack. Okay. So he didn't use it, even though he could have. Wait another turn. There he goes. It didn't kill him. I think it's like 1 health. But that's already like the second problem with using Karma. Besides it can get resisted, it doesn't really do enough, like, of anything. I mean, just healed right back up. So there's no real consequences. At least the bombs will stun. So we're done here. Okay, can you stack Karma? No. You can stack bombs, but you can't stack Karma. That's the third thing wrong with this. And he used it, and he doesn't care. Use it some more. I can Karma again. Karma. Smack. And he just gains attack, or he takes damage, but then he can just leech it back. There's not much in the way of it being actually beneficial to actually use Karma. That's why she's really bad. The biggest question is, what exactly is a skill with a cooldown? Vanessa has a passive skill with a cooldown. So does this trigger when this thing dies? No. Vanessa just used a skill with a cooldown and nothing happened. That's just why, you know, this suppression thing is just so bad. Like, the monster used a skill with a cooldown time. So my final thoughts on G is she's completely unusable. You can't use her anywhere in the game. In fact, I'm probably gonna assume that more people would rather have her like second awaken into a Sierra. The Sierra is everything that this thing wishes to be. Sierra has the speed lead, has 45% attack bar on the first skill, and then free turn on the second skill. And Sierra run laps around 4G here. And then she has the bombs. The bombs are so much like godlier compared to the suppression. Bombs can stack, bombs can stun, bombs even gain a boost with attack buff. And it can kill, and that's the biggest thing. Suppression can't do any of that. In fact, suppression, I was looking, is more like the 4th stage of immobilization. So first stage is the stun, freeze, sleep, any of that kind of sort where the target monster can't move, can't do anything. Second stage would be provoke. So provoke would make the target monster only attack whatever provoked it, and only use the skill 1. And then the third stage would be silence. Because silence would make the other enemy use the first skill, but on any target that they want. And then this is the fourth stage where they can use the first skill anywhere they want with no consequence, or they can use the second or third skill with very little consequence. And then remember, it doesn't work on passes with cooldowns, which doesn't make any sense. So where would you use her? You can't use her anywhere. Suppression doesn't work on bosses, so you can't use her in any dungeon. It doesn't work with crowd control, which is basically TOA. And then all that's left is, you know, RTA Guild Wars. But we already proved, you might as well just bomb. I mean, you put on a monster, they're either gonna first skill away, or they're gonna do it and not care. They can just easily heal through it and have almost no consequence. I mean, you have Tiana that would protect it, and it most likely wouldn't even trigger the Endure with the others. In fact, G is so bad that it makes you wonder if Kanto's even test their units. It's so sad to say that, but I mean, they made a great character model, but then they gave us a unit that's strictly, you know, set to this new debuff, and the debuff is completely useless. It's like they don't test it. They're like, okay, well, this is the idea for G, let's use her there. No, this thing doesn't work. It doesn't work anywhere, and you can't use her. So it's really sad to say that, but then you go to this notice, because now this thing also makes you question on whether or not they even test these units beforehand. Because apparently the Fire Oni is too strong for the game. Yeah, I fought a bunch of them. They're tanky and they have a high amount of attack power. But I don't even have one. I'd rather them buff the Wind one and not even nerf the Fire one, because the Wind one is just completely useless. You can't use it anywhere in the game. This Fire one you can use everywhere in the game, and that's a good thing, really. But maybe just a little adjustment somewhere would be fine. But the fact that they aren't even talking about the Wind Oni, I mean the Wind, you know, G, whatever she's called, Onmyouji, is even more sad. I mean, unless they buff everything, but then they just keep aspect of the Fire Oni. Because basically the Fire Oni is tearing up RTA, because everything is basically Wind that does the control. And then in arena defenses, mostly everything is against Lucian, so everything is usually Fire. And then there's other cases of you know, all the strong things are Wind, and the Fire Oni just tear it up. I mean, they tear up Mihos, they do everything just one shot. So basically, I wouldn't say Fire Oni is as much better as the Wind, you know, G is worse. It's close though. Like Fire Oni could easily be a 6-star, and the Wind G is easily a 2-star. Because Wind, Onmyouji, you can't use her anywhere in the game. Flat out, period. That's why she's the worst Nat5. Her suppression doesn't work on bosses, so that second skill is useless except for damage. So obviously you want something else. Her thing probably wouldn't trigger on the boss's skills, and so you can't really use her in any dungeon. Suppression doesn't work with stuns and crowd control, and that's basically everything that has to do with TOA, so you can't use her there. All that's left is PvP with Guild Wars, Siege, and Arena, and RTA, but you can't use it there either, because basically they're either going to first skill through it, or they're going to, you know, deal with losing half health, but still staying alive even if the last things, and then just heal through it, or just work through it and then not really care. This thing doesn't trigger any kind of effects like Trion's passive or Theomar's Endure. And I mean, they'll just heal through it. It's just like a completely useless aspect. And then we already saw that it didn't work on passive with skill cooldowns, which doesn't make any sense because basically that's all this does is, you know, work with a skill with a cooldown, and then that's obviously a skill with a cooldown. So that doesn't make any sense. I think that's broken. I think this whole suppression thing is complete garbage. So thank you for watching. I am LPO3. Have a good night, have a good day, and have a good... Just kidding! The only way I can see to buff this, to make this actually a good unit, is if you completely flip the suppression. Keep the comeuppance as it is, that's fine. If it does use 2 or 3, then you gain additional attack bar, who cares? This Karma, the suppression debuff, would be amazing if this worked with the unit not being able to use a skill with a cooldown. So if the target that is being suppressed does not use a skill with a cooldown, basically the second or third or fourth skill, then it'll explode or release. Because that way, this thing will trigger when the unit is stunned, when the unit just has everything on cooldown, and then it'll be good. But that might be too good, and that's probably what they had before, and then they switched it the other way, and now it's completely useless. It's completely garbage. You can't do anything with it. So, now, thank you for watching. Goodbye.